thanks, Prof. Pei, for agreeing to this interview.
Good morning to you, Nacha.
Thank you. I wanted to find out about, Big D framework in SUTD.
Yeah, my privilege. Big D, as Tom defines it, is a technical design, and he wants a student go through the whole value chain of design, right from conceptual stage, how to implement it, make prototyping, even making mistake, making failure. Then try to understand why you fail, and if it's so good, it works, right? Try to bring it to manufacturing, production, or even maintenance. So the whole process here will inculcate entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation. Another important part of Big D is the vertical axis. We call horizontal axis the whole value chain. Vertical axis is actually the technical design. So what it means that it has to be based on fundamental math, sciences like biochem, and even biology. So I think that is how we define broadly the Big D.
And also, what about the 1D, 2D, 3D?
Yeah. So for implementation purpose, we cannot just simply teach Big D using the Big D framework. So we have to see how to actually bring the book knowledge out from textbook to apply to real world through design project using Big D platform. So I started this concept called 4D Big D. So what it means is that the first Big D is actually try to design certain design nets within a class, within a subject, so that you can use a concept you learn, could be, for instance, thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, apply to the real world solving the design net issue. And that actually, through that process, you also try to incorporate design thinking, design innovation, such that your output, maybe your result will be, I would say, multiple solutions to meet certain needs. That is actually the first D, and it has been done actually almost for all subjects, right from the freshman in math, sciences, all the way to pillar subject. Even I would say those elective I just mentioned could be fluid mechanics, thermodynamics. Second D is actually quite interesting. I think we are the only university trying to do that using a more structured framework through Big D. What it means that you use what I call topics or maybe knowledge learned from more than one subject, could be, let's say, math and sciences. Then you launch a design lab, and students will again use the knowledge learned maybe from the first 9 weeks. Then you apply to solve a design problem. And again, it's a team-based approach. So what it means that again, you encourage teamwork, collaborative learning, and also trying to solve problems with compromises, team dynamic management. So I think this is a very rich, I would say, experience for students. So that is kind of, we call the 2D Big D. 3D Big D, you can imagine, is cutting across different terms, different semester, different years. So what it means, a student, without knowing that the design project learned in the previous term could be 1D, 2D, right now you have to apply it to the current course they are taking. And meaning that right now they have to use the previous foundation design project learned and apply to the current design project. One example that I always remember is the in the EPD, in term 4, students have to use electronics and material to design printed circuit boards to show that it's working, And from there, in the next term, because of this electromagnetism, they have to use a printed circuit board and develop an antenna using the electromagnetism theory. And that is a very good illustration of 3D. But they don't stop there. In fact, the second following term, term 6, the student maybe take a course in power, and they use energy optimization concept to minimize the power used by the antenna. And then they actually try to use it for practical application, like maybe even actually detecting the speed of a car. So that is actually the 3D Big D. The 4D Big D, it was actually mooted together with Chris Wood, who actually joined as an IDC co-director. And we discussed, we said that, hey, we need to give students the the space and time to do something they like to do outside classroom. We have a lot of design projects within the classroom, within a subject, across term. How about outside classroom? And we felt that maybe Wednesday, Friday afternoon, the fifth row time, will be a good platform for them to do something they like to do. Wow, that kind of thing. And that's how we mooted the 4D Big D. So to a certain extent, you look at it, in the world, we only have three-dimensional space, like 1D, 2D, 3D. And 4D Big D, you ask yourself, where is it from? And precisely, we want them to think out imagination, like what we have been thinking. 4D Big D is a space for them to really inculcate, push their creativity, come out something really nice. Hopefully, they will still focus on design project or something that they're very passionate about, but it's really beyond the traditional learning format, beyond the 3D concept. So that is a platform we built upon to implement, I would say, the Big D framework. So you can see that if you are able to let students to have multiple opportunity to do design project 1D, 2D, 3D, or even 4D at multiple years, by the time they graduate, I think they are quite well versed to be I would say a team member. When they are given a design or a problem set to solve, they could be a good leader in leading team. They know how to manage the team dynamic as well as how to actually be a leader to manage the team. And more importantly, I think you also inculcate the spirit to solve the problem together, to even challenge whether this is a problem to solve, right, as a team. Then if the solution come out, ask yourself how to share with others, because that is an implementation. Hopefully, we can further refine Big D, to meet the future needs of the growth of SUTD. Yeah.
So that brings us to the next question of, what are the benefits that you have seen because of this implementing the Big D framework in SUTD?
Sorry, may I interrupt?
I think this one,
I can hear it and see it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is a very interesting question. Right at the beginning, there is no design theory or design methodology to get us to do Big D. Like Chris and Lucian always mention, there are certain design science fundamental always guiding people to do design innovation. On the other hand, I think Big D is just a framework. We take advantage of design innovation, design science, those methodology to incorporate into Big D. So when the student asks to do, let's say 1D, 2D, 3D, or even 4D, they will start to ask, using the design innovation, design science methodology, or design thinking, to implement 1D to 4D. So I think that is a very good approach, if I may say. But on the other hand, we need to, it's a time that we need to come out certain study, to really assess what is the impact of, I would say, 4D Big D. At this point in time, I think we are able to see our graduate behave quite differently when they actually work in the real world projects like capstone, or even right now working in industry. But the challenge is always say that how much they really benefit from this 4D Big D. So we need to have proper framework. Maybe it's time to do a thorough study using proper methodology, like maybe through your help as well, to really see the impact of the 4D Big D, and perhaps even come out some hypothesis or even theory. Why is that so? Why the outcome is so different compared to maybe other design project? And one thing we mustn't forget is that I think Big D is really the framework that, or I say 4D Big D is really, encouraging students to do technical design. I think that's very important because, you have a design, concept, design idea, but I think using technology to drive the design, even today we can talk about AI to do design. I think that is a very fulfilling part because for us, we want our students to be a leader and innovator in their own engineering field, architecture field. And these are the building block of the society for building, for infrastructure, so on and so forth. So, focusing again on the using math and sciences to do design, which is through the Big D, I think it's a very powerful method. But I agree with you that we need to come up with a framework, maybe even project to study the impact of Big D, 4D Big D. I think there are two aspects we can think about that. One is more quantitative. You have to have certain methodology. You can do some what I call analysis. The other one is more qualitative. I think the qualitative part, perhaps we have to do a lot of survey, from the our employer, maybe also among our students, because when they step out of university, they do not know that actually training received by their counterpart from other school. And when they start to work with each other, start to interact in a team, in the working real life environment, I think they can start to see the different or the differentiating factor which sometimes we call between them and their counterpart. I think this is always a challenge that we face within SUTD when students start out university. Even you ask them how much they have learned, they probably have no idea to tell you. They have no clue, but they know they have learned a lot. And it's only when they start to apply, to interact, to implement, they could be quite ahead of the curve, and they could actually using non-conventional approach, so to call, more innovative approach to come out better solution or more advanced solution.
So how do you actually go about preparing the students for design projects?
It's a challenging question. I think Tom asked me, or many people asked me this about 10 years ago when we first set it up. I think there is no, I would say, certain guiding principle or methodology. Okay, what we know is that there is a Big D concept that we have to embrace and find means to implement it. What I described about 4D Big D, I think is a platform or way in which we can implement the Big D concepts. But we always encapsulate any design project using the design thinking, design innovation. So we learn by talking to others. We went to MIT, we went to Orling College, we went to Harvey Mudd, and these are places where they are very good in their own engineering education or maybe pedagogy. So we learn that actually students have to work in a group in a very, I would say, small team, a peer-to-peer learning environment. I think that's the best for them to learn skill beyond the textbook knowledge. MIT, the Tail Classroom, technology enable active learning in the physics lab is one of good example. And so we actually learn all this through maybe observing what other people have done, and also making mistakes here and there, and also be humble to consult other people. Like for instance, my Haas colleague has been telling me that now a best way for them to interact in a critique seminar-like way is actually 1 to about 15 students, 16 students. So having cohort size of 50, dividing or maybe managing by 3 instructors or 3, I would say, mentor or TA, I think that more or less give us a format 16, 17 students per instructor. So I thought that's a good format. So sometimes I also, like to say that you have to do a trial and error by taking some bold step. But if you think that it doesn't work, you made a mistake, just have to pick it up and move forward with the lesson learned. So to answer you in a nutshell, I don't think there is a guiding principle or framework for us to implement 4D Big D, but it's more on get people to buy in, and incorporate design thinking innovation for the whole Big D framework. And that's how we make it work along the way. We also adjust accordingly. I think that is something that we have to keep in mind. So there is no simple, I would say, straight, simple formula to implement any design methodology. This is my view. Yeah.
You also have the introduction to design course in the first year.
Yeah, you're right there. I think I forgot to mention, we deliberately actually introduced the introduction design in term 2. I think we are quite daring in doing that for the entire university. People have done that for small cohort, maybe a group of design-centric students, but not at the university level. So we were the first university in the world to implement the entire design introduction or design innovation course at the freshman or freshman level to the student. And bear in mind that these students come from different backgrounds. Could be from more science-based background in level, could be more hands-on background from poly, and could be international student. And yet, I think students really enjoyed it. Obviously, they get lost initially because this is the first time that they have to solve very open-ended problems. Right? There's no solution there for them to confirm or to guide them. So, but it is a good lesson learned, and through that, you're right that the design innovation, design thinking framework will be taught, and students start to use that, to apply to their future 1D, 2D, or even 3D subsequently. Yeah, I think that is a good approach, or maybe good what I call arrangement advised by MIT. Yeah, it was supposed to be in term 3, but after much discussion, we deliberately brought it down to term 2. So I think the early exposure to students somehow give a good head start for them to do subsequent design project. Yeah.
You mentioned that that you want to start like a big scale project to evaluate the design projects, but I would say that even now your faculty members are working on individual projects, maybe evaluating their own design projects and so on, and also from the student feedback on the courses. So I guess that also goes to show some evidence of what their sentiments are about design projects. So maybe you want to add something about that.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring out this. I think I'm quite glad that, I would say I'm very glad that our faculty here are taking a lot of ownership, bottom-up initiative to try new things, in particular through the Pedagogy Innovation Grant. They dare to try, and they dare to even, they committed their time on this project here. And you're right that actually through this multiple platform, we also have data to show that whether Big D is a workable model or not. You're right that right now maybe it's a more concerted effort to have a proper framework to put all these results together, see where the gaps again, then we collect those data and sit down, like I just mentioned, what is the next opportunity for us. I think there are still a lot of room for improvement. I think we discussed before, can we extend this kind of peer-to-peer learning, cohort-based learning beyond classroom in the cyberspace, right? Meaning that you flip the classroom not just between hostel at home with the classroom, but you flip the classroom between the self-learning to the virtual space, And I think there are a lot of opportunity for that. And mustn't forget that I think, to me, very soon, I think all the learning at the typically maybe tertiary level, because these are more or less more mature learner. I wouldn't say they're adult learner. They would like to have a more personalized learning. I'm pretty sure that a lot of students, when they are more well versed with time management, could be in the second, sophomore, junior year, senior year, they will be able to plan their study plan more holistically, and because then they already gone through a lot of design project, they have gone through certain time management training. So I would like to start thinking about how Big D or 4D Big D can go into more exciting space, like I just described to you. Because then you ask yourself how to get students together to work in the class, right? But there would be opportunity for them to work in a virtual space, like 2D Big D or 4D Big D or 3D Big D, through maybe AR, MR, or the kind of virtual reality. So these are things yet to be explored. So I'm not saying that this could be something that we should explore for all the students, but I think certainly this will make the learning more, I would say, more exciting and more even more personalized, because students can plan their personal learning depending on their need and also their progress.
You actually answered the last one also, the future of design, but we can go back to that.
But since we are talking about that, Nacha, perhaps this is also a good platform to talk about. I think in future, learning will not be just, it will be heavily driven by technology. This is how I feel, okay? The impact of 5G is not being seen yet, but when that is ready, together with AI, I think a lot of exciting and creative idea or maybe innovation can be considered. For instance, I did tell you that can we use machine learning or AI-driven machine learning to replace what I call final exam, become an online or oral exam. I think that is in the near future. I won't be surprised that this can happen within next 1 to 2 years with the advancement of natural language processing, right? I mean, next time you just have to answer to a machine and he or she is smart enough to actually, bring you further to the next question. I think this would be a more exciting platform to being what I call tested how much you have learned. This is just one example. Yeah. So these are futuristic, but I think you will come very soon. And you will learn, you will make the learning even more exciting for the student. So I would like to see from the student perspective as well as from the instructor perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This one is just for information. I did have the challenges in implementing Big D framework, or you said that we learned from some trial and error as well. So like what were some of the challenges and what was like some failures and what were the things that you learned from that experience?
Yeah. Okay, there are multiple factors affecting the success of Big D. One aspect, obviously, there is no theory up there to guide us through. It's just a framework, no? It's a technical design. It's a whole value chain of design, And the other one is obviously the infrastructure. Infrastructure is not just the classroom itself. It's a whole, what I call, total system to support it, to the extent that even library, also the culture, okay? So I would say that initially no one knows whether it works, So it's really a big risk for us. So major challenge beside, getting the framework ready, try to get faculty to buy in, coming out design net. These are small design projects, try to embrace Big D to launch. I think these are typical challenges, and some of them are actually quite, I would say, challenging, without knowing that what is the real outcome. For instance, 2D design project, who is going to own it? You talk to math instructor, you talk to physics instructor, they probably do not own it because they themselves may not be trained in that space, right? So I have to request Chris Hood to work with me, for instance, to come up maybe a design net such that people all get buy-in, saying that, hey, this is a way that we want to support it and launch the design project to, to the term 1, Week 10. Next question is, who is going to lead it in terms of implementation? So all these, I think, are some initial challenge we face, upfront. But I think these are solvable because, people just have to believe that this is a new way to teach the student. And so putting those, what I call culture, mindset aside, the next is the infrastructure, And you look at it, in order to embrace, let's say, 1D, 2D in the class, or even 3D in the class, you really need to have very good infrastructure to support the student. What it means that they need space, they need storeroom, they need equipment, they need what I call prototyping facility. So getting this put together, I don't think is a simple and straightforward task. Not just the equipment part, which require budget, but also how to make sure that all these facilities are so-called readily available to the student. So the 24/7 concept is very important, but you also want to manage the risk and safety, right? So this again will be actually a cultural perspective. If everyone take safety as a most important aspect, you know that you have to work with someone just in case something happen, people can render help to you. So there are many aspects. So these are challenges here. The thing that actually really actually pose a biggest problem, I would say problems, obstacle is really get the buy-in from the faculty. Yeah, because they are the one that are going to launch it. Not me. I can only provide again the framework, the resources, things like that. But I'm very glad that actually we started from ground zero, meaning that we started our class from term 1, term 2, all the way to term 8. So the initial hire, these were very young and junior faculty. They like the idea. They like to be given space and time to try new things, even resources to try new things. So I think it went quite well with them because they have the ownership. They have the opportunity to do something different. And more importantly, I think giving them the chance to try out team-based teaching is something that I think they also look forward to. Because team-based teaching also allows them to take advantage, I would say leverage on each other's strength. And instead of everyone just, for instance, prepare exam paper by themselves for a course. Right now, you have multiple people to come out a question and multiple people to solve the question for solution and counter check. So getting faculty to buy in was one of the key, I would say the most important, the most difficult challenge, but we overcome it. And right now I realize that even though every now and then we still hire new faculty, I think people somehow, because of the culture and the setup, and people start to learn, and get very comfortable to be even team member in a big teaching team, and they hopefully embrace what is Big D, So, well, I'm glad that we overcome that, and we are on the right track to, in very good shape to deliver even more exciting program. Yeah.
This is off the interview, but so right now, designing of designer is quite like experience based. We haven't like brought them together to distill out like how do you design designers. So maybe that's something.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question to me. Tom actually reminded me, this was about 10 years ago. If you talk to 10 people, ask them to define what is design, like maybe Idam, what do you mean by design? Talk to you what is design. I think the 20 different people or 10 different people give you a different definition, their own definition. So I forgot to mention what it means that design itself is a very broad, from that perspective. Even today, I think design also being seen differently by different discipline, different expertise. For us, I think we are talking about engineering design, technical design. But if you talk about people who are more on the soft design part, they will talk about creative design. Could be a different thing. So I think this is something that we have been we have been keeping in mind. How to actually make sure that our Big D is being seen is I would say it's a discipline, but it's something that we need it for 21st century. You like it or not, a lot of design, we do design every day. But if there's a mean and way to guide you through in a more, I would say, proper way, a methodology through design innovation, implement a technical design. I think the productivity, the making less mistake, all this can be saved or improved. That translates to cost. So if you ask me, these are something that we have to keep in mind. We cannot. I think Tom also mentioned that everyone has one chance to make a good university. It's Q not Q, quality not quantity. And everyone, if you have good idea, I think there's only one chance to make it work, right? So to be very frank, you ask me, can this Big D be copied easily? I think the concept can be duplicated easily, but the culture, the resources, the environment is hard to copy. is very hard to duplicate, because we start from ground zero. Imagine you ask 2 people, 3 people to teach in a class of 50 students, I think this is a big challenge for traditional university. No instructor like to tell each other how to teach, and not to say that you have to interact with students in a very consultative, interactive way rather than lecture style. So I think these are things that it's not easy. But I think somehow SUTD have this kind of platform to make it work.
One last question. This I hope you could also bring in the scholarship of teaching and learning. The question is on, so how do you think faculty members could continue to improve in facilitating this kind of design projects?
Yeah. So Nacha, I think I'm glad that I hire you as one of the as the director for learning and learning science lab, because my part here is everything what I have tried to implement is based on experience. There is no actually science or theory or methodology guide me, but we know that this will work. It's just that you go back to the very simple one-to-one teaching, tuition, right? It's the most effective way, But is that the best way for the kid to learn? Because the attention to him or her is 100%. No way he can do some other thing. But I think teaching should be beyond that, more enjoyable. Yeah. So the scholarship of teaching and learning is an important part. I think we're coming to a point where we need to be more quantitative, rather than more qualitative by look and feel or touch and feel. We need actually some more science-based, methodology to guide us through. These are important because eventually you also want to document some of this success story, and also try to watch out for gaps that may be in our blind spot. Things may not work out, it's just that we are not aware. Then how to actually further address that. I think these are opportunities we have to leverage on the research in learning and teaching. And not only that, I think this will give us an opportunity to see what will be the next, maybe pedagogy for us to quickly explore for the platform that we have here, for the maybe the learning and teaching environment that we have here. And one thing I always like to keep in mind is that when you come to SUTD or learning environment like SUTD, perhaps the centerpiece of the whole business here is not just a student, but also faculty. So how to embrace faculty to be more involved in teaching and learning research, or maybe to be seen that they are achieving certain credential in this space here. We need those scholarship of learning and teaching to come in place. So your proposal to get recognition of this I would say established faculty, or maybe faculty who have a good teaching record to be a fellow of certain recognized institution, professional body. I think this is one of the way to go, and in fact it's a very good way to recognize them, because they can be seen that not only good in research but good in also higher education. Research, I think, is really based on the interest of individual. But I think SUTD, I'm very glad that right now we have a good environment, and with your professional knowledge in guiding them, and with the right framework and platform, there are a lot of opportunity to go into this space. And I hope that you can be a leader in our scholarship research and teaching can be seen as we can be seen as a leader in this space as well. I think this is important. Yeah. I hope that well, I sincerely think that you are one of the key people who can make this happen. Yeah.
Thank you. It feels very good to hear this.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a good Friday. Yeah, we won't put it up.
Okay. So thank you, Nacha, for giving me this opportunity to talk about Big D. Thank you. Yeah.